So today is January 19, 2015. The introduction, basically, you all know me. I'm Ms. Lopez. I'm the Spanish teacher here at Bill. Today, the purpose of today's meeting is to go over the rubric for the EOC writing. And I'm going to briefly just go over the scoring for the scoring guides. We have 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Basically, we're going to also go ahead and do the collaborative group writing workshop. And then I'm going to ask you guys for some feedback. Once we go through the writing samples, then we're going to restate and summarize the writing samples in the rubric. Then after that, we're going to finish this meeting with a follow-up of professional development questions. Okay, here is the end of the year essay scoring guidelines for level 1 and 2. And this is regular level 1 and 2 foreign language. So very simple here. The 5 would be a very good to excellent proficiency in writing. We're looking for those 4 bullets. Basically, from my understanding, the 5 will be very and detailed responses to the topic, completely comprehensible to sympathetic reader. They're going to write a variety of vocabulary and ease of expression, and very good to excellent control and consistency of word order and agreement. That will be a 5. A 4 will be good proficiency, very good response to topic, not as much detail as 5. Easily comprehensible to sympathetic reader. Appropriate vocabulary with little repetition. Good control of word order and agreement. So I see the difference between 4 and 5 is that 4 will be more like easy comprehensible, but then a 5 will be more comprehensible to the reader. A 3 will be the basic proficiency. It will be satisfactory response to the topic, comprehensible to sympathetic reader, appropriate vocabulary with some repetition, basic control of word order and agreement. So the difference between 3 and 4 is that 3 is very comprehensible to the sympathetic reader. Number 4 will be easily comprehensible to the sympathetic reader. 3 will have details, but less details than a 4. Some detail, more details, a lot more. And when I'm talking about details, I'm referring to the topic. So we're going to give them, if you have in front of you, you have the Spanish Level 2 essay prompt. So this is an example of the essay prompt that was given to the students last year. And so the students need to stick to the writing prompt. So that's how they're going to prepare their notes. Okay? Then a 2 will be comprehensible to sympathetic reader, limited vocabulary with repetition, and develop and control of word order and agreement. So 2, develop control of word agreement. 3, basic control. 4, good control. And 5, very good control. So we're looking for fluency. Number 1 will be, what's number 1?
Insufficient response to topic.
Thank you, Meg. Insufficient response to topic, mostly incomprehensible even by the sympathetic reader. Insufficient vocabulary, beginning control. So number 1 would be beginning control of the vocabulary, and then insufficient vocabulary and mostly incomprehensible. So it's like you can really barely understand what they're saying or what they wrote. And basically insufficient responses will be they're lacking information regarding to the prompt. Am I right, Nick? Right. Okay. And then 0, I don't know if I've ever seen a 0. Have we, Nick?
Yes.
Yes.
We have?
You'll see that when they basically write in English, or if they copy things that are in the walls, on your walls of your room. A lot of times they'll just copy down like random facts.
Or they might just write down this, this is really dumb, and go to a long explanation for why they shouldn't have to do
So
the
they
writing.
write 100 words or 150 words, but
It's usually a
not
discipline.
responsive to
It's a discipline issue usually.
Okay. So 0, basically we've seen a 0 in the past where they will meet the word requirement, but they don't stick to the topic, and they're really they are off task.
Yeah,
that what it
they're
is?
not showing any knowledge of the language.
Okay.
But if they write real well on a different topic, will they still get?
No. No.
It's because it says inappropriate response. That's just inappropriate response if they don't write to the prompt.
So if they write a wonderful story about
Their friend.
a friend or their family, and it has nothing to do with the task given, then it could be that they brought something from the outside and just copied it. You know, they misguessed the prompt, so
But it wouldn't be a 0, they would get
this,
the score for
the
1.
one,
Yeah, they will get a 1. So let's summarize this. A 0 is basically totally off topic. Number 1 will be beginning control of word agreement, insufficient vocabulary to create meaning, mostly incomprehensible by the sympathetic reader, and they totally lack responses to the topic, so they're like totally off task. Even though they probably meet that 100 or 150 words requirement, but if they don't stick to the topic, you can't give them credit. Right,
well,
Nick?
you can also, if they write less than 100 words on the topic, but it's not sufficient to answer all 3 of the areas that they're asking to cover. So let's say they wrote 65 or 70 words, and they answer two of the tasks, that's still a 60.
Right.
That's a
because
level 1.
Because I think last April when we went to that meeting with Debbie, didn't she give us some kind of guideline as to how many points to deduct for not meeting the word requirement?
The word requirement is something that is going to be discussed at the meeting this Thursday.
Okay.
How to deal with the word requirement if they're not meeting the word requirement. But if you really just look at the rubric itself and don't think about the word requirement, did the student address the topic that was represented in the task? Yes or no, and then to what extent did they complete the task?
Okay.
It's a question of sufficient versus insufficient.
Right. It's a question of development, well-developed, answered, not answered, but for now, don't think about the words,
Don't think about
the word number, no.
Okay. We're gonna focus strictly on 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
Right, on the bullets.
Regarding those rubrics. So then 1 would be beginning control of word order. They lack responses to the topic. Number 2, they're developing control of the word order and agreement. They have some comprehensible to sympathetic to the reader. Number 3, you're going to have basic control of the word order, and it's comprehensible to the sympathetic reader, and the responses are appropriate to the topic. And then number 5, they definitely met all the requirements. Very good vocabulary. They completely comprehensible to the sympathetic reader, and they very and detailed responses to the topic. So 4 would be, so 3 would be some. The 3 would be some type of they're like, I believe a 3 is 70, 75, right?
No, a 3 is an 80.
It's an 80.
It's
Right, in parentheses.
yeah, in the parentheses it says 80. You can't, it's hard to read up.
And I remember from last, from the meeting in April, I think, Betty said that we're between a 70 and an 80, a 75 and 80. We want to give the students the benefit that doesn't give them that higher grade.
You can also look on the back page of this. It shows you what a 5 is, what a 4 is, what a 4.5 is. So if you think a kid is between a 4 and a 5, you could give them the grade between what a 4 and a 5 is.
Of a 90 or 95, maybe a 93.
I think we're stuck with the
So if
5.
it's a true 5, it's 100. If it's a true 4, it's a 90. If you see elements from bullets for the 5 and the 4,
Then a 90.
then you could do the 95 in the middle.
Yeah, we didn't split
No.
less, yeah.
So then if the student's between an 85 and 90, then I guess Betty wants us to give them the higher grade, which would be a 90, correct?
Right, if you're seeing that, if you look at the bullets, they're meeting bullets for both a 5 and a 4, then they're in between a 5 and a 4.
Correct.
So you want to look at the bullet points underneath the numbers, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Weigh the bullet points equal, and then make the judgment between the two.
Then on the attached worksheet, they're giving us some grading norms. I see them as hints. Number 1, read the entire sample first. Number 2, decide between whether it's an upper half or lower half. Is it a 5? Is it a 3? Is it a 1? All bullets are equal. Take out the honors tab. Do not make assumptions about outside experience, advantage, and grade using rubric only. Try to leave behind any personal beliefs about what students should be able to do. And 7, grading groups to determine the level of sympathetic and sympathetic readers. So I have a question for you guys. What is the definition of sympathetic reader?
I take it as someone who realizes that they're learning the new language, they're not expecting perfection like right off the bat. This is a first year, second year student.
What do I understand? You know, are they communicating?
I think if you're a sympathetic reader, you want the desire to understand what the kid's trying to say is there. Instead of, I don't know what this is, you're like, oh, I bet, oh, they're trying to say this.
Well, you're engaged in the communication aspect of this, and that you're attempting, you're doing your best job to try to understand what it is they're trying to say. As opposed to if someone who has no language skill, no knowledge of, you know, the target language, or the mother tongue that they're speaking, so you can't be sympathetic, you can't make guesses. And I think that we as native speakers of English and teachers, we have an advantage to be empathetic and meet them more than halfway trying to communicate.
Great answer. All right, now I'll give you some sticky notes, and I'm going to give you, and I also give you the rubric.
Can I bring up something here I
Yes,
think is
sir.
very important? Is they talk about calibrating the tests before, reading sample tests before as a group. And I think that's very important that you do that, to kind of get an idea of what it is that you're looking for. And what they've done in the past is they've given us samples of what a 5 was, or what a 4 was, what a 3 was, so that we have a better idea of what is in the upper half and what is in the lower half. And so I think that if you do take the time to do that before you sit down to read samples, and start reading essays, then I think you're certainly into it.
And that's what we're trying to hope to do with the Thursday meeting that I'm going to go to. Betty's asked the teachers to collect samples from last year. And we want to try to find samples of what does the 5 look like, what does the 4 look like, what does the 3 look like. So it'll be interesting to see today what y'all think of the samples that Rosa has selected, where you would put them, and then I think I can do that. No, it's perfect.
There you go. I'm so glad you're in my class
So,
today.
because it's hard to put teachers, so many different teachers on the same page.
And that's what they do in AP, like when they train readers. That's,
Yeah, and see, and one of the problems we had last year is that we were doing that table instead of it already being set. Okay, this is a 5, this is a 4, this is a 3.
So with that in mind, Joe, we thought about you, and we're going to.
I'm glad y'all thought of it.
We've got the needs, and here we are.
We're going to spend about 15, 20 minutes. I'm going to pass out some samples, and we're going to work in groups. I guess we're going to work in groups of 2 or 3. Or maybe we can work in 3 groups. One group, I'll work with Cammie, and then we'll be another group. And those sticky notes, that's why I pass the sticky notes, so that when you're reading the prompts, we're going to take focus on the rubric. And like Ned said earlier, once we read the prompt, we need to see how many bullets. Like for example, if we think it's between a 4 and a 5, well, we're going to look to see how many bullets does that writing sample has, more a 4 or a 5. And that's how we're going to determine if that writing is a 4 or 5, depending on how many bullets that writing sample needs. Any questions? No? Yeah.
Nighttime?
This is our problem?
Yes.
Ready?
You want us to each read it individually and then discuss together?
Well, I think,
Yeah, but I do, because I know my students.
Well, yeah, but, you know,
Not seeing the name helps me, although I can recognize the handwriting by now. Anyway, I'm still trying.
yeah, I'm trying to do the same thing, is I'm trying to say, okay, yes, this is the name sticker, but where is my level, you know, for where they should be? And that's not a problem now.
This is why I really think, this is my personal opinion, that when we're grading these essays, it should be either, you know, we have to keep our mind when, we should be focused on whether it's regular two or pre-P, and not of one student.
Yeah,
That's
and
not-
and that's what we read.
together.
No, yeah, actually, we had those separated in two different groups, and so the pre-AP, we might grade junior high pre-AP, but we didn't put the two together, we put all the pre-AP in one group. But on the same level, a sophomore pre-AP two, just because they should have higher level thinking skills, should actually do a better job than, in some sort, than, yeah, I mean, they should. They don't, that's true, but,
I'm gonna finish up this meeting with asking some questions, because we're moving on.
I didn't bring answers, but I had questions.
What is this? What are
The professional development, this right
we-
here.
why didn't we put that? Where is it talking? I didn't get this. When?
She left her off.
She left.
I'm only gonna ask those four. Once they're done, we're gonna talk about the.
She did respond.
And then I'm gonna finish. Those four questions, because
There's not a lot.
that's not one, and this one.
So instead of white writing, you'd say with little, yeah, see, this is, even four says appropriate vocabulary with little repetition. And so that's why he marked it down as a 3, because there was some repetition here at the very end.
Well, but she also, whoever it is, also used vocabulary repetition that, I mean, with two different words.
I believe,
It's just my, I
believe this is the best part of the sign, from the same discussion.
Yeah, it's level 2, regular 2.
all I'm doing is looking at the rubric and what they're telling us. I mean, again,
And it
it's
may
like I
come
say,
from
I
somebody
can't,
else's class,
I
you
can't.
know.
well, I can't judge, the fine points of grammatical accuracy and things like that, so I'm counting things that, are easily readable, I mean, pick up and.
Yep.
So, I'm just saying.
Yeah. He had a lot. I get what, and there were things
Well,
that were.
remember that I'm the German teacher, so take that with a grain of salt.
He was he said, what it was easily, it was completely completely comprehensible to him.
In logical development,
And
covered all 3 of the areas and used a variety of vocabulary.
yeah, and so, yeah,
Vocab, that's the word you
the
meant.
vocab.
Well, I'm sorry,
there.
well, what am I supposed to judge on? I mean, I
Yeah,
freely admit I can't get the free.
Actually, this person, I was telling Rosa, but this is a student that memorizes over and over and over. He has a great
That is
memory.
very
He
detracting.
has words, he doesn't know how to read, he just else them in there.
I'm just wondering anything about the class.
See, I don't think it's random.
No agreement between them, masculine, feminine, singular, plural, kindness,
Anything
everywhere
else?
between.
I've already seen it.
past,
She's never seen it.
Not using them correctly at all. So it's, it's not easy to read.
No, see, the whole thing is being sympathetic, and that's, coming from the ab initio, The grade is really what I'm doing, very sympathetic. And it's, and so that's, when you talk about being a
Things that
sympathetic,
we think are important, verb agreement and, the grammar and things like that, and getting it in the right tense and the right word order, count like 1 point, on the whole thing.
and so, is it completely sympathetic to you? Right, or is it easily comprehensible? But are you down to comprehensible, is comprehensible to a sympathetic reader? I think it's the fact that it jumps back and forth, this is a language learner, this is not someone who understands it. We just think that they should.
One thing that I tell my students is, do not, we say catch your nose into a trap. Stay into a easier what you know. Show me what you know, what you don't, not what you don't know. Don't show me what you don't know, show me what you know. And it's the same in the real world. Go out there and try to say what you know. Don't try to use complicated structures to show that you actually can do, and then you end up not doing anything. And people lose patience with you. So try to stay in a simple way, show I know how to form this, I have the vocab, I can put it together, keep it simpler, easy to communicate. Don't try to complicate using all these conditional subjunctives that you don't know how to form just to show that you actually can use them. And then you end up not using them correctly and losing points for that. It's like, and when you have to use them, show that you can use it. When you have to use it.
Hilarious.
You're
Well, and y'all been
right.
reading and talking about each one? Is that what y'all do? Because we just read through the whole thing and then talked about it. So, okay.
On a personal level, Tammy, I think some of these are excellent writing for students that are just, completing a foreign language and
They're still
regularly to their.
Yeah, they're still on the novice level, really? And level two?
And my focus writers on my non-native speakers.
I'm not a very, very bright person. I've learned 5 languages and I have explanation. I made mistakes, yes. But I still expect you, if you want to learn a language, you have to master the basics. No, level 2, you have to master the basics, or you don't pass.
I agree, we gotta have high expectations, but then, once again, like they're giving us a hint on the second page, they have to understand. And so can I just be more lenient about it's a very good level 92.
Well, and not only that, but it is also, this is not something that they have to think about. This is some, they got one class period. They don't get the problem.
It's just turn those in. It's one long paragraph.
But these are topics that we have
Supposed to be written that much.
we have covered them.
Well, I know, it's not that we should have done, but the thing is that you have to realize that they feel under pressure. So, there's gonna be more mistakes, there's gonna be more mistakes.
Well, such is life. Life is under pressure. It doesn't excuse your mistakes. Honestly, it's like this. For me, it's like this. No, I'm not actually. I'm not going to use it.
No, it sounds
It's
like
like
it
a
to
sound.
me.
You see what I mean? It's like, you're not good at writing, you're not good at writing. I don't have to give you extra. You can be very good at speaking. I have students that are really good at speaking. I have no problem giving 100 minutes. After I hear them 1 minute, they're good, they're great. When it comes to writing, oh my gosh. I don't have to pass you because I know you are good in other things. No, you're writing. Go improve, girl. Go improve. You are not paying attention. I know you can do better than that. Go pay attention and brush up. Some mistakes, honestly. I mean, I have papers where there are lots of little mistakes, and yet I found it. Because it just shows, some imperfections, not basics. I'm not accept, I cannot accept that basics. I mean, how, this is just, what was it? Tienes 7.
Yeah,
Ah,
which
tiene
is
7 años de
ridiculous.
Should have been tenía 7.
No,
Cuando
hace-
tenía 7 años. Si lo puedes
Hace
hacer,
7 años.
tiempo.
Hace 7 años.
Hace tiempo con
Expression is
hace
there.
Or your
Uh,
age.
there's time
Such a
fine,
variety of, you know, the verb to be,
examples.
has the verb
Yes.
to have.
Musical
That's at
style
least
and
in Spanish.
bread.
But yeah, in
Yeah,
yeah,
I know,
yeah.
I'm just giving an example, you know.
Yeah.
O yo me llamo, it's like yo llamo, how you go llamo,
But the Ruben doesn't say that.
You're calling Joe, no.
I know, but
What's
it
your
doesn't
name?
that's the
Very
truth.
basic mind
That's exactly what I
reading.
said, I said I agree with
I
you.
am so many
Words are
years
saying
old
that.
now.
They'll tell
That's
you,
it.
that's an
Crazy.
extra, finish that with
And I
two.
think Megan, I chose this
Honestly,
as a 5.
we should get them
Because
me llamo and
I said it's one of the best ones we
in
have.
Spanish.
Wasn't that first thing I
Yeah.
said, easy
I'm old, yeah,
expressions
this is
there,
even
and I
my
put
one,
my head
I'm
on
not
the
sad, because there's no time.
But it's completely, yeah.
Your gut was
Do
telling you
not
not
know,
to,
but
but
then
then you have to go back and.
I want
It is, I mean,
And as a teacher, you're
have
looking at
basic
going,
constructions, you're not listening to
"Oh, there's no way, where's the paragraph?
That's
Where's
right.
the
Go and
section?
find
Where's-"
another
the organizational
subject you want to
ideas.
take.
And it's not
But
just
it-
say
it's
flow of
telling-
content.
Yeah, but
It
that
doesn't
means
tell me
no,
how to-
And I have to go back and remember it's 1 and 2, not 3.
Yeah.
And
There is no mixing.
if we're thinking that at the end,
I see so many.
You're gonna be able to.
They're
do
not
better
as
than
high.
I keep correcting it, I keep
Right.
doing it, right?
Right.
It's not, because I have such a knowledge, I am so many years, but I have so between years. It's not, llamo, but me
Yes.
llamo. But something.
All right. We are ready to reconvene. Now we're gonna go ahead and we're going to talk about what we scored for each essay. So number 1, the very first one, what did this group get, number 1? 4. 4, and the reasons are?
We had a bullet from level 3, but I don't remember what it was.
The comprehensibility is the only bullet that we said for number 3.
Okay,
The comprehensibility to a sympathetic reader, but all the other bullets were in the 4.
and the 4.
So we decided that's a 4.
Okay. Any discrepancies on that one from the rest of the group?
I was 2, 3, and then, okay, 3, I'll go with 3.
Why 3, Cam?
Because he has very basic control of word order and agreement,
Okay,
appropriate vocabulary with easy repetition. That could be, for me, it was just comprehensible to sympathetic reason, not easy comprehensible.
Right, we agreed on the 3, the easy.
That's, yeah.
The
So I
comprehensible
always
to
have
sympathetic.
3, and,
I'm gonna interject here that
Go ahead,
being
Joe.
a non-Spanish teacher, reader of Spanish, I found it very comprehensible. In fact, one of the easiest ones to read
in this part.
in the packet.
so what did that?
I gave this one a 5. We agreed after negotiating that it should be a 4. But from a non-native Spanish teacher, non-Spanish teacher point of view, I found it very comprehensible.
I think this is a person who has good skills in writing.
Okay.
He or she is good in writing, has stories to tell, can tell stories, but cannot manage the language.
So as a group, as a department, we're going to give this a 4 or a 5? It sounds to me that majority is 4.
4.
All right, so
4.
we're gonna sum this as a 4?
Do we need clarification, I'm wondering, on what is meant by the control of word order and agreement?
Yes,
I think so.
because that's
What
something
is
that we
meant
had a
by that?
discrepancy on that, because I was looking at subject-verb agreement problems, but the word order itself is fine. Structure of the sentence is correct, but the subject-verb agreement
It's
was
not-
off. And so I didn't know if that's,
Masculine
right.
roles.
So I didn't know if that was part of that or not, or are we not supposed to be looking at that at all?
We're supposed to be looking at that as well. So we're supposed to be looking at the rubric and go bullet by bullet.
So we did, but that's all it says there. It says, what is it? Good control of word order and agreement, okay? But are we just talking
So
about?
word order is what has place in the sentence, and then agreement, so there's really 2 parts. Agreement, whether it's subject-verb agreement
Right.
or noun adjective agreement.
I'm not in it.
For example, it can be los monos. It has to be las monos, right? So I believe this says in my opinion, it will be a 4. So we can submit this as a 4? Yes. Okay. Next one. Joe, Carol?
Yeah, I think we agreed this was, well, he had a bunch of placement charter. I put it as a 4.
I
And
just put it as a 4.5.
Cameron?
3, 4.
That's what we're saying.
3 and 4, 3 and 4.
That's what we're, when Megan and I got together, we were indecisive as well between 3 and 4. So, which, if we were to give a number to the assessor, which one would it give
Well,
us?
I think we discussed earlier that if you are split between two numbers, you
Right.
get the higher.
you give the higher
But
number.
there's also the option of the number in between.
Right.
On the back, the 5.
Yeah, the 3.5.
The 3.5. So 3.5 would be, the 3.5 would be, an 85. So is that an 85?
I really don't think we should consider whether the numeric grade,
Yeah, whether we're,
or I think we need to stick with what level, a 5, a 4, a 3, it's
Yes.
a 1.
Stick
I
to
don't
the
think
bullets
that-
because
I wouldn't even look at
people's
the,
grading ideas are
okay,
different.
so in saying between a 3 and a 4, what was it about it that you put down to a 3?
We had something in there, 2.
Oh, you did?
Yes, we had 1 2 bullet, 1 3 bullet, and then 2 4 bullet.
Our comprehensibility was a 2. We thought that you had to have effort to understand Cerro Hill, those videos, de su nariz.
Yeah.
I mean,
did.
I read it
Yeah.
3 times before Sandra explained, oh, they're trying to snip the glasses on our face. And I was like, oh, okay, I didn't get that.
Fuimos boleras y jugamos juegos de alcalde.
Sorry.
Huh?
I thought that was. Yes, that's hard to say. It is hard to understand.
Okay, see, and that's what I started trying to become very sympathetic.
I know, I understand that. It's hard, it's hard.
And then he's, in the first paragraph, mis gatos me hicieron era pequeña, interesante.
Made me.
My cats made me was little and interesting.
Made me a little.
So there's no,
What are they saying?
there's no meaning then.
Right, so we had trouble with that, that's why I wanted.
Yeah, I see that, and so I agree with you there, because there is, it does take effort to try and understand that is a 2 right there, that part.
Right.
And then we had a 3, which was. the-
How many bullets do you guys have for 3?
The vocab,
Oh, that was a repetition?
We had, I think we had 2 4 bullets, 1 3 bullet, and 1 2 bullet.
You did.
So can we say this is a 3?
yeah, I would get,
Give it a 3? Good job. Moving on, next one. Hola, me llamo blah 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 y yo ve 16 años.
Yo beat me, sí.
Yo ve.
Ves, español.
Sandra and Meg, what is your one? 2. Cammy? 2. Carol?
2.
2?
Mhm.
Awesome, we're in agreement. 2.
It took effort.
That one, yes, it did.
Next one, hola, mi nombre es blah blah blah, yo haciendo el video. One, Joe?
that's what I got.
1.
Awesome. Ooh, such a great team, guys. Next one
Well,
is.
we know 1 when we see it.
We may have to.
We have problems.
But a 1's pretty, 1s and 2s we know.
Next one, era una joven, fuiste muy contenta, simpática y muy inteligente. Meg, Sandra? 3. Tammy? 4. What?
No, I have a 3.
Kind of 3.
So, Tammy, why at 4? And I thought you were a hard grader here.
Yeah, well, that's
When we were talking, I thought she was really a hard grader. Why at 4?
Not that hard, but I think she had a good vocabulary and it was, I mean, her message really went
heard the calls. I understood what she wanted to say, or he, whatever. The problems in New Orleans, how they moved, and she didn't like the school, and finally in Texas, it was definitely like. Time tenses were used good. I don't know, even agreements between, verbs and subjects, or between nouns and determinants are pretty okay here. Some of them are not that good, but, I don't know, it was easy, comprehensible for me, appropriate vocabulary, not much repetition really.
Did the student answer the prompt? Because the prompt says that the student had to talk about 3 different things.
Yes.
So does that example talks about 3 different things?
Yes.
Okay. So why do we get them a 3 Sandra May?
I didn't take this one off, I wrote it. Yes, I think so.
Era una joven, fuiste muy contenta, simpática, inteligente. Mi familia era muy grande.
I
En mi
wouldn't
casa,
say that it was easily comprehensible.
okay,
You had to want to comprehend what she was saying at times. We felt like there was repetition, not necessarily of vocabulary, but of verb structure over and over and over and over again.
This is the fuimos, éramos.
Yeah,
Yes.
Era, fuiste, éramos, fuiste.
Correct. all right. Joe and Carol, why 3?
Well, I would just agree that I had a great deal of difficulty following kind of the flow of what she was trying to say.
So then it falls more on the comprehensible versus easily comprehensible. Good job. All right, so we'll give this a 3. It's a department. 3 it is. And the last one. Hola, mi nombre es, tengo 16 años. Kim?
5.
5. Carol? Joe?
5.
I have problems with this one because I think that it's repetitive. Vocabulary is repetitive, the ideas are repetitive. I don't think you can give it a 5. I put it a 3, but I've had that pointed out that it's, grammatically correct. I just think that, this person found, is repeating the same structures over and over again, and I have a problem.
Which was at the very end of it. which
Yes,
was-
all
Well, no,
Three,
they use
four,
the same vocabulary for montón, repeatedly, montando, or montar, repeatedly, and I just think they need to demonstrate a broader vocabulary to get a 5. I mean, that's,
So you're looking at, your
and the
focus
other
on
thing
this
is they
one.
talked about Disney World and princesses, and I just think it's a very simplistic vocabulary structure, vocabulary range.
So how many bullets do you think that paper have under 4? How many?
Well, I
bullets?
can't, again, I can't judge some of the things that are up there as accurately as you guys can. I can only count kind of the things that are obvious, diversity and understandability. And I just found this one a little bit more difficult to follow the flow of the story, and I saw repetition. So I didn't give them full credit.
well, one of the things that Sandra and I were talking about was that this needed to be divided up into paragraphs.
Oh, structure, that should be on the rubric.
But it's not on the rubric, but it did affect our ability to separate the ideas and to follow.
And that's really
What was
something
being
as
said.
teachers, I mean, of course, I guess we'll get to that, but yeah, as teachers, gosh, you gotta have paragraphs. This is, I don't
When
wanna
you
read
start
this
a new
much all in one
idea,
place.
it's a new paragraph, and that would
And you can bring it out a lot, and you
a
just.
lot.
yeah.
All right, so as a department, we agree this is a 5. Okay?
I can see how somebody might put it at a 4.5.
It's so easy.
I can see
expression,
someone-
because it's easy to use.
I can see somebody dropping it down for some of the reasons that you mentioned, Joe, that it's not a true 5. I do feel it has more, my gut says 5, but I could see how someone could put 4.5 on it.
I guarantee you, if I saw that repetition in a German essay, they would not get a 5.
Nick, just to clarify this from my own understanding as well, when we are grading the essays, right, we're going to give them, we're not going to give them a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're actually going to give them a letter grade, a number grade, right?
Right.
Well,
Which is,
first we
Well-
give them the 5.
but it's on the back of the sheet. I mean,
Right.
you're not just, all you're doing is looking and see what it says.
Right.
Yeah, we do 0 through 5, or 4 point, or if we think they're in between, 4.5, then we go back and put the grade on it.
Like, for example,
When
like,
you-
on the last paper, on the last essay, they were talking about Joe has a 4.5, and Joe will get
Would
a
you give a
4.95.
98 or a 98?
No.
No,
95
look,
is the
so,
option.
so when you write your score on this paper, you're gonna write a 4.5,
Right.
or,
People
You're
wrote the
not supposed
98. People
You're not
wrote,
supposed
the
to.
95. People wrote the number. As I looked through essays that people gave to me from last year,
you're supposed to
the
write.
number of the grade was
Right.
on the paper, not the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So to summarize this,
So
we're going to
I
use,
I like yours on that.
so to summarize this, we're going to use the rubric of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, sort of to give us an idea of where the paper falls. Once we give them a number, then we're going to give them a number grade, which would be
According to the
according to
scale.
a scale on the back.
And
Yeah, but then it says if you are between 4 and 5, you would give a 5. Right, that's again the instruction.
Well, see, yes, according to this instructions here, if we're ever in doubt,
Error.
if we're between a 4.5 and a 5, then they want us to give them the higher. So, but then if you look at the back, Cammy, a 5 is 100, so we give them 100.
I mean, I just, I have a problem giving that paper a 100 because of the repetition.
For me, it's instruction. Divide it so we can understand.
But I think if this were my student, which it's not, if this were my student and the paper came back to me and it had a 90, or 95 on it, I would be okay with that. This particular student had an 80 on her paper.
Right. So this particular
For real.
student was
Wow.
given an 80. So she was
So I was
downgraded.
right! Yes!
You agreed with whoever graded the paper last year.
That's what I put.
Okay, you gave him a 4.5, right?
Originally I gave him a 3, and
Ah.
she talked me into,
So you're right there.
that's what I said.
That's written paper. It was the best.
There's no
written
way.
paper.
And I'm the German teacher. Maybe it
It's
was
the best
about
reader.
bombarded.
That's
There
the
is
of the
I
language.
don't know how
There's
good.
no way that's a 3.
It shows command of the language.
Yeah, see, that's what I
It
think,
doesn't
even though
matter.
there's repetition, it show command of the language.
He's
The-
not
the
good
one
in
thing that
expressing
keeps going
himself
up
or
is
herself.
about
We didn't, not once did they say, yo me gustaba. And that is something that we deal with, because that's incorrect, that's incorrect. The me gustaba is used correctly.
It's like these people, hear them speaking English, their native language, they will do the same mistakes. It's not because it's just the way and they don't have yet really, higher level thinking and higher level vocab and expression, ease of expressing themselves, even in their native language. And that goes across, but can they use the language properly? Yes.
All right,
Or
we're
no.
going to continue on, and I'm going to answer those, I'm going to ask you guys the 4 questions on the professional development. Part of my assignment was to actually ask these 4 questions. 3 and 4, I kind of like just threw them in there because it kind of falls in with what we're doing. And my assignment says for me to ask the department these questions, and then your answers will be part of my reflection paper, and then they wanted to submit it to Mr. Bannister, and kind of like asking him if he could, any suggestions we come up with for him to help us out to better our teacher development growth. So number 1, can you guys make any recommendations for effective and relevant professional development?
So in relationship to what we've just done, or in general?
In general department, and also on what we did today, if you guys think that any professional development that will help our department to better serve our students, to achieve student success.
I was thinking what we did today is what I was gonna ask for. I had written down, or I thought about before about the EOC training for those coming from a school that didn't have EOC for their subject, for language. So I came in and not knowing what even an EOC in Spanish would look like for each level. So having something like that to make you feel like, okay, you're seeing where you're heading, so you can work backwards from there, kind of thing.
So kind of like what Mr. Vance did this morning, today's step development plan, he gave us time to meet the requirements so we can
Exactly.
meet our needs. Any
Well,
madam?
I think one of the things is there's a wealth of teaching experience and perspective right here in our department. And I think that more time to collaborate and to get ideas from one another, I think would be very beneficial. Yeah.
I was thinking, I was gonna ask the department, do you think it would be helpful for us to meet with the English department, or at least get their rubric to see what they're teaching in the classroom, because I believe there's a connection when they teach, the writing, the EOC writing. It's gotta be the same rubric, the same expectations, except it's in a foreign language. Will that help us?
We can ask. I mean, it wouldn't hurt.
I mean, I've been in schools where we have done writing across the curriculum kind of training, and the idea is that we're looking for some of the same skills, in a different way, but still looking for the same skills.
Right.
Helping them to put their thoughts down on paper, paragraphication, it's
Right.
like,
It might be helpful to know what they are being taught in their English classes
I-
about writing, because when I talk to my AP classes about writing a persuasive essay, I want their feedback. You know how to write an essay in English class. What is expected? Are you expected to have paragraphs? Yes. Well, guess what? You've got to have paragraphs for Spanish too.
I mean,
Are you expected to have a
Right.
thesis? What is a thesis? If we talk about what is a good thesis, where do you put your thesis? Does every paragraph has a thesis? How do you decide how to divide? And it's skills across the board. It might be helpful to know what grade they're being taught those skills.
I mean, just from my experience of being an elementary teacher and already, taught all those subjects, now that I'm a Spanish teacher, I feel like there's some, what's the word I'm looking for? Cross-reference?
Curriculum.
Cross-curriculum.
it's cross.
Right, and so the skills that we teach in English class, especially in fifth grade, and actually such in third grade, kind of like has a lot of relevancy to what we're teaching in Spanish, and it will help our students.
And I
That's what I think.
Absolutely, I think the junior and senior, or the 3s and 4s, also getting rubrics from the universities, because they post them. I got a comparison essay rubric online, the 2 different approaches that they use, and so that you know what they're gonna be expected to do also in the future, so you can have that kind of an idea too.
I think it's really helpful. I know AP and IB are consistently changing what their expectations are. And it would help if we knew what those expectations were and could start bringing those down into the lower levels.
Absolutely.
I know that even like the written assignment was changed a couple years ago. It's been updated and you have new information about what they're looking for. AP Spanish and French, Spanish changed last year, French the year before that. And I think it helps the lower level teachers to know what are you expecting in AP and IB, and what little things can I do with level 1 and 2 and 3 to bridge the gap.
And I think that's why it's helpful to meet with the English department, because they can at least give us, like Carol said, the skills, the rubric that they use to teach the students, they get them prepared for the writing EOC. And I think if we incorporate the entire department, I think we can help our kids.
One of the things that we did, whether last year or the year before, during our continuous improvement training in the summer, was they had us meet with people from not our department and discuss with them how they implemented different things. And I sat with the band director, and I thought it was, what they're doing is ideal for as far as skills. So the band members have to master skills before they can progress and to perform. And it works perfectly with what we do for foreign language. If we could somehow come sit down and agree on what skills we want our kids to master at what points and have a check. What they had was a checkoff sheet, a signature sheet that the kids could not. It wasn't for a grade or anything. It was just so that before they could begin working on another level, they had to master that. So it was a great idea.
That's an awesome idea. Number 2, assess the degree of importance that professional development has in teacher growth.
I mean, even talking about what you just said, hearing from one another, speaking with one another, finding different ways of doing things. I think we all try to better meet our students' needs, and so I think it's important for us to continually hear new things, new ways of doing things, and see how it meshes with where we are and how we, and what we do. Because we teach differently, but at the same time, there might be an idea here, an idea here.
It's more efficient, I think, than just talking about general teaching and all these fancy ideas and theories and stuff like that. Rather hands-on activities. What helped you teach
I was
this
just gonna say,
concept to the students?
we all want to be as effective as we can. And when I hear ideas from y'all, or, from another teacher in our profession, that makes me to be a more effective German teacher, then, that helps. It not only helps me, but it helps my kids succeed. And that's what I want. That's
Bring
exactly
some
what I want.
freshness into that.
Well,
Activities and
if there's a better way to do it, I'm all for it. I used to say that I stole ideas, but I think that foreign language teachers, we're constantly sharing ideas, because, and it's acceptable and it's encouraged because we're all trying to be, better, more effective.
Well, if I think about what one of the science teachers said, the students have to trust us that we will get them ready and get them where they need to be. And that means that professional development is really important because we have to know where they need to be. What are colleges expecting? What is AP expecting? What is IB expecting?
What is the next level expecting?
Exactly. Because they are putting their trust that yes, I know I've told my kids, you're not where you need to be at the end, but we're getting there. And so there has to be trust from them that I know what I'm saying to them when I say, you're where you need to be for now, we're going to keep working, this is where our goal is.
So will you all agree that the perfect time to get all this information that we need will be at the beginning of the school year when we want to distribute, so that we can have when we come back before students come in and have Mr. Dance already come at that time?
See, for
That's the
me,
start,
I
and then-
need more time to process, and I can't
Exactly.
just, when we get something right at the beginning of school, it's like, okay, that's fine, but it's off to the races, and I need, I went to so much training last summer, and then I really I did not have time to really sit down and process, how can I implement this, I did not have enough time to just, so I know what I have to do like this summer. So for me, professional development, right before we start something, is not good.
When do we meet as a staff besides
That's really it, but that's
We
just,
meet in June.
in June?
yeah.
We meet in June at the
First
end.
of June.
And that would give time for people to think about, I like that idea, how would it work for me? It would give you a couple months to think. And I know in June you kind of want to be gone, but on the other token, you do have some downtime, some time by the pool, some time where you're not stressed. Kind of by the pool for me. When you're not stressed, and it does give you time to think, how could I do it differently next year? I like what this person said about this. I want my kids writing more. Would that work for me? How am I going to grade it? How often am I going to have, and it just would give you time to really think. I know when we've had the staff developments, we've had some really great people brought in for foreign language the week before school starts. And the week before school starts, it's crazy. We're trying to get our
Well,
classrooms ready.
Let's look at this past year. We had great presentations. And then we went into meetings that, we had to sit for 4 hours, and they gave us 3 hours in the afternoon to work in our classrooms, but we were spending it getting books and getting, our classrooms ready, and so we have
Make
no
sure we have
time
enough desks.
yeah, exactly, we have no time to sit and develop, lesson plans or materials or whatever it is that we've gotten great ideas for. So I question how effective having staff, it is good in that it gives us ideas, but then we don't have any time to really.
It's almost like if we could have that at the end of the school year,
Yes,
and then
that's
have a
the best.
day to meet with other people right before school, it's like, this is what I've done with it, what have you done with it,
So have like a training in June, and then in August we.
How about collaborative?
It's like you have the whole summer to think about it and plan, not before the school, now, okay, change everything and do it this.
Yeah, that's exactly
And you,
right.
like you said, you could come back to the table with, we all thought about this in June when we left, and over the summer, I found this great article, I found,
Yeah.
these, I think these would be
Share
great pictures,
resources.
that you could share resources at a time when people would be,
But I'm not gonna change
Right.
anything anymore, I don't have time to change my lesson plans, you know what I mean?
Right now, no.
Those are great ideas, I'm gonna use them
Sometimes.
passively later, it's good to know about them, but don't expect me to change everything now, when.
yeah.
All right, next question, what type of training will help with scoring writing process? Besides what we did today, what other great ideas do you guys have to help us with the scoring writing process?
I think if we took sample writings, like the ones we had, and a group of teachers got together, which I believe we're doing on Thursday. If we had an explanation sheet, AP, when it gives you a score, it tells you
What the.
why they got that score. And a lot of times it'll put in parentheses evidence from what they wrote as an example of where they're hitting on the bullet point.
And if we had that.
And then if you had that printed out, you could look at it and it wouldn't be, this is a 4 because of these two things. It would be a small paragraph, they usually have a small paragraph where it's written up and it says, this student shows basic developing proficiency. And then they give you the evidence or the reason why the student got what they got.
Would it help if we brought someone from the outside? Since there's so many consultants out there that can,
It's our rubric. I mean,
Share it
it's-
together.
This rubric is
Has
the
been developed
district rubric,
by the district.
and like we just talked about, there were some things where we're like, but where is it on the rubric? It's not.
Yeah, like the number of words, meeting the minute, nowhere does it say on the rubric, required number of words. And,
Well, that's a philosophical issue, whether you want that to be, and that's one that I think that the department or our content area has purposely skirted that issue.
but when we start taking off points.
Well, that's what I'm saying, I think they don't want us to take off points they don't want us to count words. I'm just telling you, I think that's what, I'm not saying it's right, I'm just thinking
We're trusting the
it's.
students because we just go by the numbers at the top.
One thing I think is that we should make teams of graders that, and I'm a German teacher, so my teams met. I mean, it's but we should have teams of graders who we meet to calibrate, and we grade, like if I teach Spanish 2A or 2 regular, I know that I am a 2 regular grader, and I am trained to do that, as opposed to, well, this time you're going to 2A, 2A, 2 pre-AP, 1A, at 1 level. I think we need to train those teachers so that we're not jumping back and forth trying to figure out which, and that we stick with, and the caliber and level of language. And that you get familiar with the rubric for that, and you get familiar with the prompt. you know, so that it's not every year you're trying to guess, well, what are they supposed to have? You know, I think that that would make it, and you know, I hate to tell you, but I think we need to make teams of 3. You
And
know,
I think
and
one
they
person
can sit
or a
together.
team.
Well,
Like we did.
I think they should be in teams of 3, that you read it and you score it, and if you have any doubt, then the other 2 people read it and they give you, I mean,
Talking as a district, like next time.
yes, I'm talking as a district.
Because we're having a professional development with Betty Maple, aren't we? Because we have one last year, we had it again this year. Well, we met in April, we met at the Family Center.
No,
Well,
we
we do the grading.
just
Oh,
did the
that was-
We
grading.
do the grading,
And
but
that's
that's
in
in
That's
May.
it now. So maybe you think it would be possible to ask Betty if we could take Joe's idea and hopefully meet before May? Because I think for February is too late. February.
Oh, yeah. But the
But
thing is,
my thing is that if you want consistent grading, you have to have consistent
I like your idea.
people on the team. If you're throwing in people left and right, you have no idea what they're gonna be grading and what to expect. You
I
know,
like this
they're-
idea.
well, see, and my thing was, Joe, that I said was talking to Meg about, is that we've been doing this for enough years, that we should have some samples of, this is a 5, this is a 4, this is a 3, this is a 2, and this is a 1, where you sit down and you read those and you see where they are, and then you have something to compare.
My suggestion would also to get some very clear 5s, a very clear 4, a very clear 3, a very clear, so that we're not guessing at, is this a
Yes.
4 or 5, or is this a 2 or 3? You know, so that, you know, that the graders in their mind know the sample paper that they are judging everything else by. Not playing gotcha where, what do you think this is? You know,
I agree with you.
I think that needs to be done as well.
Then I think it would be a great idea if we get very plenty of samples, both Marshall and Trinity, and then hopefully we can meet up, like next time the students are off. We can meet with Betty as a whole district and implement like the great idea that Jeff came up with. Will that help?
Betty has already had the lead teachers send over samples. So I sent over your samples
Right.
and Kara's samples.
Will that be
And
enough?
all the
for
lead
Amy?
teachers were supposed to bring samples, if they had samples, of French and Spanish. I don't know about German. I know sign language was not asked for. And then when I meet on Thursday night, we're supposed to find examples of 5, a 4, a 3, a 2, a 1. And I think the thinking is to have that ready for May grading.
But are we going to get together as a district and like Joe said, collaborate? Collaborate? I can't remember.
Calibrate.
Calibrate.
That's what they're doing.
Well, that's what the lead
That's what
teachers
they're
are doing. That's what the lead teachers are doing. They're calibrating, but then what he's saying is that we should establish teams
Right.
that are doing the regular 2s, that are doing the pre-AP 2, you know.
And when you do your grading on in May,
We'll be prepared.
she pulls people out. So what you're saying is, could they know before the meeting in May, or the grading date in May?
Have those examples.
Well, I think one is, at the beginning of the grading, we're gonna take 45 minutes to an hour
Right.
to meet in our grading groups
Mm-hmm.
and sit down and go through the examples of the 5.
Yeah.
But we're
Before-
talking about the examples that they're gathering together this Thursday, right? Those samples, we want
Yes.
more samples.
Well, I don't care where the samples are coming from or who decides, but I think and I think the lead teachers can make that decision. With Betty, what a 5 is. We need a good, clear sample, an unambiguous 5. We need a good, clear sample of a 4, of a 3, of a 2, of a 1. And
They
then,
bring that as
then
plus.
when we meet in May, then the people who are doing Spanish level 2 regular have 5 samples of good 5 regulars, and that they look through and they can grade then, you don't have to put on there, this is a 5, this is a 4, this is a 3, this is 2. Then they can calibrate so that the graders then can come to their own conclusion, this is a 5, but they make that conclusion in their group, okay? I mean, that's just mine.
Okay, see, I mean, that was one of, I mean,
But
you're
is
just
that
saying in
what
the
you
group,
did
and that
last
was one of
year?
my problems, is because we had pre-AP, or we had 2 regulars, we had more than one group. And therefore, one group might calibrate one way, and another group might calibrate a different way.
I think
And I was
that's-
saying, as a district, we should have clear examples.
Well,
And so, I mean,
no,
let's interpret
what
what
we
you're
have,
saying.
what we have done is I think that it should be divided, 1, 2, 2 pre-AP. And that there should be a set of 5 examples that are
For each group.
AP, yes, that are AP, and that can be determined by, I mean, what the samples you want to do, I mean, use should come from, picked by the lead teachers. I mean, I should think y'all can agree on that. And that way the other thing is, then when all the teachers who come on in May get together, the ones who are grading 2 regular and 1 and 2 pre-AP, they meet as a group, they meet as a group, and they meet as a group. They take their samples,
Okay, so I'm.
they take their samples, and then they discuss, well, which one is a 5? Well, they already know which one the 5 is, so if the group is unable to recognize that as the 5, then the lead teachers can come in and say, well, this is why this is a 5.
I got
And
you.
this is what, you know.
But one thing I noticed last May was that when Betty put us in groups, some teachers were put in pre-P 2, but that teacher was taught regular 1 and 2, so wouldn't
Well-
it be beneficial to the students if we were put in a group according to what we teach?
Absolutely. Oh, I think
that was
that's,
unfair last May.
no, I think, I mean, it's just like me, making me grade Spanish exams. It's not fair.
Well, I feel more comfortable if I'm teaching regular 2, I'd rather.
Right,
be in groups
and
than
you
teaching
should be
when I'm
grading
grading
regular 2.
I mean,
Absolutely,
versus-
absolutely.
I mean, it's what's best for the students. That's what I'm,
You know,
that's
I
what I
think-
noticed last May, then I'm like, okay.
Well, I think what, in some aspect, they're saying, well, you shouldn't grade your own papers. You know, that's.
No,
that's
I'm
easy.
not grading my own
No,
papers.
no, I know,
But
I'm not
I'll be
suggesting
grading,
that.
I'll be grading Trinity, so it still will be not my own papers, but if I'm teaching regular 1 and 2,
I
it's only
think-
fair to the student that
yes.
I'm in, that Betty puts me in a group where I'm grading
I definitely
1 to
think,
regular.
I definitely
I
think
mean,
that
it's just
it,
fair to the students.
I think it would be horrible to take a 3 AP Spanish teacher and make them grade Spanish 1. I mean, that's unfair all the way around.
I just noticed, I noticed that like in May where how the groups are divided. I'm like, okay.
Well, that, I mean, how Betty does that, we have very little control over, but I would suggest, I would recommend that we,
Okay. We can make
But-
suggestions.
but one thing I would suggest is that they
We can make
They
suggestions. whether it's
grade in
random or
groups
not.
of 3 where they can talk. I think last time they sat at a giant table.
I think there were, what, 5 or 6 of us at a table?
Yeah, I think that's a mistake. I
That was
think,
many.
Did it, I wasn't there.
Yeah, we were like, because I'm thinking there were like
tests,
maybe, I'm thinking there were more than 4 in the group.
There was about 5 or 6 in
Yeah,
each
that's what I
table.
was thinking, in each table.
Separation?
And just a little more
well,
separate.
just a,
Maybe meet at a different location. I think that location was,
No.
no?
well, I think that's a problem.
I know that one time when I did do it, when I wasn't doing IB, there were so many people that it was like, I could hear people reading their paper out loud,
Right.
and I couldn't concentrate on what I was supposed
Bring your,
to
That's-
do.
bring, you know, bring your
I
iPhone,
always bring headphones.
plug in your,
Yeah.
Okay,
I
so-
rock out as
So
I'm
meet at a
reading
different
my
location, a bigger place than
Hildegard's
my home.
German students paper.
Spread out. If there's a way to
yeah,
spread
yeah,
out,
to spread out more.
yeah.
I mean, of course, gosh, I remember one year we were at church, the first, when I was studying for Kelly, and we went and graded, and we
In
were at
church?
church. Yeah, and so we had a lot of space to, you know, and I don't remember why we ended up there, but you know, it was just, I think
We
it
needed
was.
the
In my
space and
opinion,
the
that
work.
location is too small, Mary, because I need a lot of quietness and to focus and all these
The
teachers
chit-chat,
talking,
the
the
chit-chat.
chit-chat.
Well,
They
The
were
reason-
done before me, and I just couldn't focus with all this sound, with all this.
I think they need to be groups of three, because I think any more you get too many opinions, and with three, you can take a majority vote.
Mhm.
And whatever the majority says, then that's what grade you get.
I think the way we did it today was a good example, because what we did in May, I think we did on grading, didn't we?
No, I mean, well,
Kind of, yeah. That's what happened in my table. That was
yeah,
what
we just, everybody just said, we did your
Yeah.
group of papers, and
I wouldn't recommend that we have multiple readings.
meetings,
No.
unless you have a
Unless
problem.
there's an issue. If
But
there's
if
an
you don't-
issue and you can't decide.
But see, I think that's why it's so critical that we have a 5.221 for us to look at.
Absolutely.
That is already established as a benchmark, so, okay.
Okay, number 4, what steps as educators should be taken to improve the success of student learning?
Well, I think we've already talked about those things, about working with, finding out what they're doing in English, so that we can carry that across into Spanish. Talk about the things that they do in English that would help them, in whatever language they're writing in.
Well, I think that's the whole purpose of professional development, is trying to get ideas and learn new and more effective ways of instruction so that the students can learn. And I think one of the things we've hit on is that, we learn the ideas, we need another step here put in, time for us to actually implement. One thing I'd like to go back to and say, though, is that I think that we've got great ideas right here in our department, that I think that if we were given time to meet and discuss and basically steal each other's ideas, I think it would improve what we're doing greatly. I mean, right here, right next door to us, they're great teachers, and I think that we just need to find time to meet.
Anything else? Thank you all. I appreciate your help.
Certainly.